Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz. This is Ron's Rundown. We're going to go over the MLB games scheduled for Saturday, August 10th, 2024. And if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your baseball picks in the comment section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my daily rundown best bet in the MLB, you can find those at the premium picks tab at pickdawgz.com. There's also a link in the description. Alrighty, here we go. Here are the games for Saturday, Major League Baseball. Next up, we see the Oakland Athletics taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. Osvaldo Bido and Yariel Rodriguez are your starters. I thought Rodriguez pitched really well in that last game, his first start of August. 4 2/3, no runs, 4 strikeouts, a 7-7 ground ball to fly ball ratio against the Yankees at Yankee Stadium. Now, the Blue Jays lost that game in extra innings, and Rodriguez doesn't always pitch deep into ball games, but I still think he's a solid option in this Blue Jays rotation. I haven't really liked what I've seen from Bido recently, giving up 9 earned runs his last 2 starts combined. Both of those losses for the A's. I'm going to go with the Blue Jays in this one on the money line at Rogers Center. Next up, the Detroit Tigers taking on the San Francisco Giants. An afternoon game in San Francisco. No official starter for Detroit. Logan Webb should be going for San Fran. Now, Logan Webb, we know, ground ball specialist, a pitch-to-contact starter, usually pretty efficient. When he's at his best, he's really efficient, can go deep into ball games, and he pitches a lot better at Oracle Park, where he is in this game. Now, the Tigers don't really have a high ground ball rate this season. That could be an issue for Webb, but I still think, when you look at Detroit in the last 30 days, they're ranked 24th in team OPS against righties. Webb's pitching at home. I think it's a good matchup for Logan Webb, and I think he'll be able to go 6-7 strong innings. Giants bullpen, while the numbers have been a little bit shaky recently, very recently, still in the last month, they're up there in terms of xFIP, one of the best xFIPs in baseball. So I think that we're going to see a strong effort from the Giants pitching staff. We'll see who the official starter is for Detroit, but that bullpen's not been great in the last month. So I think San Francisco does enough here offensively to win and cover that run line. Give me the Giants laying the 1.5 runs. Next up, we'll go to Miami as the Padres take on the Marlins. We're going to see Matt Waldron and Roddery Munoz as the starters. And when you look at Roddery Munoz, 2 more home runs given up in that last game. He's given up 6 home runs his last 3 starts, 21 home runs in his first 70 innings of the season. A lot of home runs given up. And, San Diego, not necessarily known for being a powerful lineup, but they're still 11th in baseball in home runs, one of the best batting averages in baseball. So it's a tough matchup for Munoz. And Matt Waldron's been solid this season, kind of an underrated starting pitcher. We hear a lot about Darvish and Musgrove, Dylan Cease, of course, and even Michael King. But Waldron's put together a sub-4 ERA this season, and he's been, solid recently. That's last game, 1 run given up in 5 2/3 against the Rockies. He wasn't great against the Dodgers in the previous start, but the Padres still found a way to win that game. They've won his last 3 starts. Give me San Diego in this one on the money line and run line. Next up, we see the Angels and the Nationals. We're going to see Griffin Canning and Patrick Corbin on the mound. Don't really love either of these starting pitching options, but I will say Canning's in much better form. The Angels are 4-1 in his last 5 starts. Corbin, the Nationals, are 1-4 in his last 5 starts. And for a team like Washington that's been one of the more profitable teams in terms of moneyline betting this season, Corbin's been one of the least profitable starting pitchers in terms of moneyline betting this year. So if he wasn't in that rotation, Washington could be the most profitable team in the MLB. But nonetheless, the Angels are slowly improving against left-handed pitching. We saw them get to Nestor Cortez in that Yankee series. I think they get to Corbin. I think Canning's good enough. Give me the Angels in this one on the money line. Next up, we see the Cincinnati Reds taking on the Milwaukee Brewers. Nick Martinez and Tobias Myers are your starters. I've mentioned many times this year and previous seasons, I don't think Nick Martinez is a viable starting pitching option at the major league level. I think he's a solid reliever, but as a starter, I don't really love his game. And while he pitched well against the Marlins as a starter last time out, 5 innings of shutout ball, I think against a much tougher lineup here in Milwaukee, I think Martinez struggles. And I think that the Brewers also, Tobias Myers has given up a good amount of home runs recently. Cincinnati's been a really powerful lineup. They're number 1 in baseball in isolated power against righties in the last month. This could be a higher scoring game, at least through the first 5 innings. I'm going to go with the over in the first 5 in Milwaukee-Cincinnati. Next up, we see the Cleveland Guardians taking on the Minnesota Twins. Simeon Woods Richardson and Gavin Williams are the starters. I don't really like what I'm seeing from either of these starting pitchers recently. Gavin Williams was pitching pretty well, but struggled in that last game against the Orioles. 6 earned runs, 2 home runs. His control was off in that one. He had 8 strikeouts, but 8 base hits to go with it in a 9-5 Orioles win. And on the other side, Simeon Woods Richardson struggled against the Mets. Gave up 6 earned runs and 7 base hits. And then against the White Sox, not a great lineup. Obviously, one of the worst lineups in baseball. Giving up 3 more runs, 3 walks, and only 4 innings of work in that game. The Twins were able to, rally in that one, but For me, when you look at this matchup, I just think the Guardians have the better bullpen in this series. Even though I think the Twins have a solid bullpen as well, I think Cleveland could have a top 3, maybe even the best bullpen in baseball. So it's tough if this is a close game late with the way that the Guardians play offensively. They limit strikeouts. They play pretty well in close games usually, and their bullpen's is very strong. I got to give the advantage to Cleveland in this one. So give me the Guardians on the money line in this one. Next up, the St. Louis Cardinals taking on the Kansas City Royals. We're going to see Andre Pallante and Michael Wacha as the starters. Now, Wacha doesn't have great numbers against the current Cardinals hitters in his career, but he still has he had a start against St. Louis not too long ago. It wasn't his best, but it was still a win for KC in the end, 8-5. Pallante on the other side faced these Royals in that same series, and he struggled in that series. He gave up 4 earned runs and 6 base hits with a home run in a 6-4 Royals win. So for me, I got to go with the Royals in this game. I think Pallante really struggled in that last game against the Mets. 5 earned runs, 5 base hits, just wasn't a very competitive outing for him. And the Cardinals have now dropped his last 4 starts. They haven't backed him up in the run support department. I think Wacha is the better option in this game. I'm going to go with the Kansas City Royals on the money line and run line. Next up, we see the Baltimore Orioles taking on the Tampa Bay Rays. Corbin Burnes for Baltimore. We're still waiting for the official starter for Tampa Bay. Corbin Burnes is still one of the best pitchers in baseball, but to me, just recently, hasn't been as dominant as we saw at the beginning of the year. And he still has great numbers on the year, but that last game we saw against Cleveland, 4 earned runs, 5 total runs, a homer, 7 base hits to go with it. The Orioles were able to back him up and win that game, but just didn't think it was his best start. Now facing the Rays here, a team that was big-time sellers at the deadline, but still playing pretty competitive baseball. Their bullpen's been excellent in the last month in terms of the expected numbers. I think this game is going to be a lot more competitive than what the line may suggest once we see the official starter. I expect Baltimore to be a pretty heavy favorite in this game. And I think we're going to get some value with Tampa Bay in this one on the money line and run line. So give me the 1.5 runs and the money line with the Tampa Bay Rays. Next up, the Chicago Cubs taking on the Chicago White Sox. Justin Steele and Chris Flexen are the starters. We got to continue to fade Chris Flexen. I mean, we've mentioned the White Sox have not won a Chris Flexen start since May 8th. That was a game against the Rays. The White Sox have only won 2 of his starts this season. He's been one of the least profitable pitchers in baseball. And even when he's pitched okay, like we saw a game against the Royals, 6 innings, a 2-run ball, wasn't enough in the end. It still was an 8-5 loss for Chicago. He has struggled. The White Sox lineup has struggled, and that bullpen's been one of the worst in baseball overall this year and in the last month in terms of the expected numbers. xFIP, I think, is dead last in the last 30 days. He gave up 6 earned runs in his last start against Minnesota, and Justin Steele's a pretty good option on the other side for the Cubs. Give me the Cubs in this one on the money line and run line. Next up, the Atlanta Braves and the Colorado Rockies. Max Fried and Cal Quantrill are the starters. Fried returned to the mound on August 4th against the Marlins and struggled in that game. 5 earned runs and 5 walks in 3 1/3 innings. And we saw at the beginning of the season when Fried was kind of returning from that injury, struggled in that his first couple of starts against the Phillies and the Diamondbacks. After those games, he was excellent, and I expect Fried to get back to that form at some point. But early on, the first couple of starts back, I am a little bit hesitant backing Fried, especially at Coors Field. This is not necessarily a great place for a pitcher that's still not 100% to be pitching at. Cal Quantrill, while he's not been his best recently, has been solid at Coors Field this year. He has better numbers at Coors than he does on the road, with a sub-4 ERA at Coors and a solid record. And the Rockies have been able to compete in a lot of his home starts. So for me, I got to go with the Rockies in this one, getting an excellent price on the money line at Coors Field. Next up, the Philadelphia Phillies and the Arizona Diamondbacks, the rematch of the NLCS. This is a great series so far, and this should be a great matchup. We see Aaron Nola and Zach Gallen as the projected starters. And Zach Gallen does not have great numbers against the current Phillies hitters in his career. Expected slugging is pretty steep, expected batting average as well. Now, both of these starting pitchers weren't their best in their last games. Gallen had a really tough matchup against the Guardians at Progressive Field. He gave up 5 earned runs. He was able to go 7 innings, and that was really key because the Diamondbacks didn't have to use a lot of their bullpen in that game. They wanted to win that game in extra innings, and he's been a very profitable pitcher recently. The Diamondbacks have won his last 4 starts, while Nola, on the flip side, 0-4 the Phillies are in his last 4 starts. So I understand why it might be tough to back Philadelphia in this game, but I just trust their lineup a little bit more in this matchup. I also think their bullpen, while maybe not the best in the last 30 days, is still a very strong bullpen on paper. I'm going to lean towards the Phillies in this one. I think it's going to be a great game like we've seen already in this series, but I'm going to go with the Phillies on the money line. Next up, the Pittsburgh Pirates taking on the Los Angeles Dodgers. Paul Skeens for Pittsburgh, River Ryan for the Dodgers, so a pair of young pitchers in this one. And Skeens already faced the Dodgers once this year. He was okay in that game. He went 5 innings of 8 strikeout baseball. He did give up, though, 2 home runs, one of them to Shohei Ohtani, and 3 earned runs in the game. Now, he got a lot of run support in that one because that was the game against James Paxton where the Pirates, got to him really early. They won that game 10-6, but it still wasn't Skeens' best start. But I like the fact that he was able to miss those bats. I think that's the key for me in this game. Skeens' strikeout number is still very strong. River Ryan has had 3+ walks in his first 3 starts. The control's a little bit of a concern for me. I think the Pirates can get to him for a few runs. Should be an excellent game. I'm going to go with the Pirates here, getting a solid price with Paul Skeens on the mound. Next up, the New York Mets and the Seattle Mariners. Sean Manaea and Logan Gilbert are your starters. Manaea's been excellent recently, 21 strikeouts his last 2 starts. I do think this is a tougher matchup for him, and he still has an expected ERA in the 4s. I still have regression concerns for him in the second half, but you can't deny he's in great form right now. On the other side, Logan Gilbert's pitched really well at T-Mobile Park this year. Sub-3 ERA, including the last game, 6 innings, a 1-run ball, 7 strikeouts against the Phillies. I think we see a lower scoring game, but I like Seattle in this one. I think they can get to Manaea for a few runs. I do think Gilbert is the better option to start this game. Solid bullpens. The lineups have been, we know Seattle's been more to the negative side offensively, but I do think they are putting together a lot more competitive at-bats since the trade deadline. Their offense is improving slightly. I'm going to go with Seattle in this one on the money line. And that's it. Those are the games for Saturday in baseball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. Put those baseball picks in the comment section below. And again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.